Hey, it's Matt here with Peppercoat Barbecue. Welcome back to the Peppercoat Day. Today, it's New Smoker Day. This is the Old Country Barbecue Pits, Pecos. So I'm going to break this video up into 3 sections today. Section number 1 or chapter number 1, I'll put some chapters at the bottom so you can skip ahead if you would like. But chapter number 1, I'm just going to give you a little bit about what brought me to this point, my barbecue journey, if you will. Some of you may find yourself in the same place that I am and looking for that first offset smoker. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. Chapter number 2, we'll look at the Pecos and why I chose the Pecos instead of a different smoker. And then chapter number 3, some planned modifications. Also in there, I'm going to show you a little bit of a design change that I noticed about this Pecos from some in years past. So chapter 1, what brought me to an offset smoker? I've been using charcoal grills for probably 25 plus years, but I never really got into smoking until about 6 years ago. And a friend of mine brought a Boston Butt that he had smoked on a Weber Smoky Mountain over to one of my kids' birthday parties. And I got to tell you, that was the best barbecue I'd ever eaten. And I thought, man, I got to give this a try. So it just so happens I went to my local Lowe's and they had the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco clearance. Remember, this was about 6 years ago. When I bought this, I think it was like $189. Yeah, I know things have changed. But for 6 years, I have used this Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. It has been absolutely fantastic. And I would recommend this smoker to anyone. I made what I thought was some of the best barbecue known to man on this smoker. Then about 2.5 years ago, I bought the Old Country Barbecue Pits Smokehouse, which is a stick burner. Same vertical configuration, so in my mind, I thought it would be similar to the Bronco, just have a greater capacity. Well, I was completely wrong. The Bronco, the drum smoker, you know, it is like a gas sipper. It just barely sips on charcoal, while this thing is a gas guzzler. It burns splits like crazy. But what I noticed was the flavor profile between these two were extremely different, and I really liked the splits. And especially after I did the rib comparison between the two, you can check that video out. And I'll try to put a little card over here where you can check that out. Save it for later. Watch this one first. Or then I made a Boston Butt in here, went 12 hours, no wrap. The bark was incredible. Just the rendering of the fat cab was incredible. It was so good. So then I thought, okay, this was good barbecue. This is great barbecue. How much better can it get? So that brought me to wanting an offset smoker. The offset is the king of Texas barbecue. And if I wanted to get better at barbecue, I felt like I needed an offset. And so I looked at some reverse flows, but really the reverse flow, by the time the smoke comes through the chamber, I thought it would give me kind of similar results as one of the vertical smokers. So I really wanted the offset. I wanted that maximum convection coming through the chamber, and I wanted that fat rendering, and I really wanted the top down cooking. So I decided I'm going to get an offset. But why did I decide to get the Pecos? Chapter 2, why the Pecos? Well, because I'm not a rich man. I started looking at these $5,000 offsets, and there's some guys out there that are making absolutely beautiful pits. I mean, they're works of art, but they're like $4,000 and $5,000, $6,000. And even though I'm okay with that, my wife seems to think that we should still pay the bills instead of buying smokers, but whatever. I didn't want to go as cheap as you can go from one of the box store offsets that's bolted together. The Pecos is all welded construction. I like Old Country Barbecue Pits. I have no affiliation with them. That's basically because they didn't respond to my email that I sent them. But, you know, I already have 2 of their pits. I have the Smokehouse. I have the Vaquero. I like both of them. They're all welded, as I said. They hold up really well. So I started looking at Old Country Barbecue Pits again when I was looking for an offset. And my first choice, my preference really was the Brazos. I like the Brazos. If you know anything about these, they're the same size, the Pecos and the Brazos. The difference is the Brazos gives you an upper shelf, which I really didn't care that much about an upper shelf. It would be nice, but it wasn't a deal breaker. The biggest thing with the Brazos is it is 1/4 inch steel, whereas the Pecos is 1/8 inch steel. So it's double the thickness, but it's more than double in price. This one, January 2025, when I bought this one, is $500. The Brazos was selling for $1,200, and there wasn't a store within 4 hours of me that even had a Brazos in stock. So I went with the Pecos. I will say with these, like any of the old country pits, they are mass produced. And so sometimes I think they go down the line pretty quickly. They get some damage in shipping, so just look over them. But I was really happy with the way that this one looked, and so I decided to go ahead and buy the Pecos. The welds on this one seem to look pretty good. The doors and everything fit up okay. Some of the ones I noticed in the store, the top had dents in them. They all seem to be on this one side, and it pushed this down and caused like a 1/4 inch gap between the door and the chamber here. And I would say that's probably shipping damage. Pecos has the great level exhaust, which I thought was important. I did notice a change on the inside, something that I hadn't noticed before on the Pecos, and I've looked at these in the past, but never bought one. One of the things that I noticed was that there are some rods welded across the cooking chamber on the bottom, and I guess that's maybe just some extra structural support, but I hadn't noticed that in these before, so I think that's something new with their design. Overall, this pit looks really good. I really like the fold-out shelf here on the front. Got a nice large firebox. The door is kind of flimsy on the firebox, but I mean, hey, you can't have everything, right? We're talking $500 instead of $5,000. And then have a nice large smoke chamber in here. The diameter of the Pecos is 19 inches. This is not made from pipe. It is steel that was rolled and welded together. The grate, the cooking grate, is about 16 3/4 inches all the way across. And then the length of the chamber is about 39.5 inches. And the actual grate length is 36 inches. I knew this grate size was similar to that in my Vaquero, so I wanted to test it out. And you can see there's probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch difference all the way around. So very close to the same size, but not the same grate. The Pecos is the lighter of the twins, but still weighs in at 222 pounds. And overall, if I could wrap up the reason I bought the Pecos in one word, it would be value. That brings us to chapter 3. Plans and modifications that I have for this smoker. So again, it's a $500 smoker, and I don't expect that it's going to smoke like a $5,000 smoker, but I really have nothing to compare it to in that price range. So what I have already been doing is some research on higher price smokers, the way the airflow works in the smokers, and some things that I want to do. First thing I want to do is remove this baffle plate in here. What I'm seeing from everybody else's videos, if you leave that baffle plate, it's forcing that hot air down. It's coming up in the middle of the rack, and it makes an extremely hot spot here in the middle. You have no convection over here at the end. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is the difference between a bottom up cooker and a top down cooker. You know, if you go in here and you leave the baffle plate, and some people are taking this charcoal grate and laying it at the bottom, or if you're using the deflector plates across the bottom, then you're really creating a bottom up cooker. And I already have 2 bottom up cookers. I want a top down Texas style cooker with a lot of convection. So I'm going to remove that, make a scoop baffle to put over here, bring that air up and across the top of whatever I'm cooking. And I've seen enough videos for guys doing the stack extensions that I definitely want to do that, increase that draw through here, the airflow. Don't know exactly how high I'm going yet. Still researching that a little bit. There's 2 things with this smoker that I still haven't made a decision about yet. Not really sure. Maybe you can help me out. You drop something in the comment. You tell me if this is a good idea or not. But if you'll notice where the exhaust comes out of this smoker, this is a 5-inch pipe. It's 5.5 inch on the outside. The inside is just a little over a 5-inch diameter. But on the inside, where they've cut out for this pipe, it's only about 4 inches. So should that open up a little bit there for that exhaust? Because really you're pinching this down to 4 inches when it's going into a 5-inch opening. So I think that would probably pull a little more air through. And then also where the air flows from the firebox into the main chamber here, this opening is 8.5 inches across and 4 inches high. So basically it's double the exit over here. That's a 4-inch outlet with this inlet that's 8.5 by 4 inches. Most of your quality smokers has a much larger half moon shaped opening. I'm thinking about opening that up, but then at the same time, I look at Goldie's smoker, which has the same size pipe coming in. I think it's a 5 or 6 inch coming in that it does coming out. So a little more research to come, but the next time that you see this smoker, it's gonna look different. So stick around. Hey, if I've already done the mods, check this video out. I'll link it right over here in the corner. If not, keep tuning back into the channel. But either way, I'll see you next time on Peppercoat Barbecue.